Welcome to Real Bear Reviews, your paradise for movie lovers. Thank you for supporting our channel. Your love keeps us alive and growing.
This handsome young man, with a baby face, at a glance, seems like a rich heir. Girls are willing to fall at his feet. But don't let looks deceive you. His name is Han Anan, the rising star assassin of MK Enterprise with the nickname Mantis, the deadly praying mantis that is often mistaken for a stag beetle. He usually appears with two signature sides that can cut an enemy in half in the blink of an eye. MK Enterprise, with the facade of a normal software company, is actually an underground empire where assassination contracts are signed like business deals, and assassins compete for every inch of territory. MK Enterprise has 3 rules established by Chairman Cham that must not be broken. First, only accept jobs licensed by the company. Second, do not kill minors. Third, always execute the jobs licensed by the company. Today, Mantis receives orders to deal with 2 freelance assassins who violated MK's rules. The boss was quickly slit by the chairman's throat so fast that he didn't even feel the knife. The subordinate fled, unaware that a more painful death awaited him ahead. Mantis appeared with 2 scythes. The subordinate finally met the rising star that he had heard of for a long time. However, he mistakenly called Mantis a stag beetle. Finally, he had his arm cut off and a straight cut across his neck by Mantis. After the job, Mantis suddenly asked for time off, essentially to pressure his boss to hire his childhood friend. After the chairman agreed, he went to enjoy his company-sponsored vacation. When he returned, he heard the news that Chairman Cham had been assassinated. MK Enterprise not only fell into chaos without a leader but also triggered a bloody power struggle. His friend, Chae Yi, was the one who informed Han Anan as soon as he landed. After leaving MK, she established her senior's company, eagerly seeking money and hoping to catch up to Mantis' reputation. When the news broke that MK's chairman had passed away, other companies immediately blocked Han Anan at the airport to recruit him. Han Anan had to tear his shirt to escape. Upon arriving at Chae Yi's house, he immediately summoned his subordinates at their usual club. The subordinates clamored to start their own business. Since MK was now ruined, Han Anan had freedom and reputation, so why not start his own company? Although he was an A-class assassin, Chae Yi knew that killing was different from running a business. He suddenly heard that Chae Yi was dating someone. Having feelings for her, he was momentarily flustered and changed the subject. In reality, Han Anan and Chae Yi both came from MK's assassin training camp. Potential teenagers were selected by MK and trained under extremely harsh conditions. In terms of skill, Chae Yi was always slightly better than Han Anan in competitions, but he was chosen by the company to debut first. This caused Chae Yi to be dissatisfied and she once left MK. Han Anan heard his friend persuading him to start a business, so he thought of someone, the elder Doko. The next day, Han Anan went to find Doko, MK's founder, and the master who trained him and Chae Yi. As soon as he entered the house, he was greeted warmly by the elder like a test. Despite his age, Doko still maintained the demeanor of an elder. Han Anan landed one punch, but was then thoroughly beaten by him. He quickly grabbed the antique from his master's house, declaring war. Indeed, it significantly increased his speed. Doko was knocked down by him, so he broke a metal frame to create a weapon. Metal is definitely harder than bronze or pottery. The final blow. Han Anan calmly raised the antique vase, worth billions, causing his master to stop. Afterward, they both sat down to eat French fries. Han Anan asked about the reason why his master left MK in an ugly way. Back then, the elder Doko and Chairman Cham were the 2 co-founders of MK. He was considered a legend, but suddenly chose to retire midway. To retire, he even shed a lot of blood. At that time, Han Anan was just a nobody, so he couldn't do anything. Doko only said the reason was personal feud. Han Anan then asked if he planned to return to MK. Since Chairman Cham was dead, the company was about to collapse. If he returned, he would immediately be promoted to chairman. Han Anan also took the opportunity to mention Chae Yi. Back then, she was the best in their batch, but the chairman chose Han Anan because he saw his enormous potential. Although Chae Yi trained diligently, Han Anan had a natural talent for being an assassin. He predicted that Han Anan would go much further than Chae Yi later on. It was also from then that he was directed to fight with both hands. Elder Doko believed that if it were Chae Yi, it would definitely not be possible. Han Anan wanted to know the reason, but he chose to avoid the question. Doko said he was also planning to look for Han Anan. He wanted him to be the successor, so he shouldn't waste time on that girl Chae Yi anymore. Han Anan refused the offer. He wanted to start his own company with Chae Yi and the young members of their group. The investor he found was the young director of meta software named Mincho, who had actively given him his business card at Elder Doko's villa. Chae Yi came to see her senior to ask to quit. She thought the cool boss wouldn't keep a talented person, but little did she know, he later begged her to stay. After begging unsuccessfully, he had to let Chae Yi go. The next day, they went to meet the director Mincho. They also prepared a presentation with very good data, but this director didn't care about immediate profit. He wanted to witness them working firsthand. This guy clearly had his eye on Chae Yi. He only cared about her profile, wanting to know her winning rate when facing the famous assassin Mantis. His mocking attitude made Han angry, and he left. He thought this director was too arrogant to work with, but his impulsive decision made his subordinates frustrated. He was Mantis, so he would never lack jobs, but they were just amateurs who had to eat at the boss house. In fact, they really wanted this new job. But Han never asked if they wanted it. He was just angry because he liked Chae Yi. Donggang left after saying that. That evening, Han called Chae Yi out and gave her his savings book. He thought he was being cool with the girl, but Chae Yi criticized him for saving so little after working at MK for so long. Han, I sold my supercar to go all in on their own company. After all, sitting around is boring. Of course, his pride demanded the chairman's seat, and the company name was also his nickname, Mantis. Thinking his reputation was great, he only managed to bring a few contracts to the company. The company had 4 members. 1 chairman, 1 vice chairman, 1 CEO, and only 1 employee. But the chairman took all the good projects. They had customers when they first opened, but after a while the company was struggling, having to lower prices but still not getting any new projects. Han went to beg Elder Doko, but he set a condition. Han had to help him rectify the assassin world. Since Chairman Cam's death, the number of people who didn't follow the rules had increased. However, he didn't want to agree yet. His employees became increasingly dissatisfied, especially BM Bay. He had been idle for a long time. The chairman either did all the projects himself or gave them to Chae Yi. Chairman Mantis was only good at wielding scythes, but his EQ was a bit lacking. Chae Yi called him out to talk. She suggested that he should support the remaining members of the group, that he must trust the younger ones for the company to grow. He was where he was because everyone at MK trusted him, but Han said that he and the younger ones were different. This made Chae Yi explode. She felt very uncomfortable that he openly favored her out of affection, not because he truly trusted her ability. He pretended to care about others but actually looked down on them. In his impulsiveness, Han wouldn't back down. He said that without him, she would be nothing. The two hurt each other with their words. That's why there's the saying about the teacher's child and the friend's wife being at the office. That evening, he went to see the elder Doko. He recounted the real reason why Chae Yi left MK back then. Talent is a gift, but mediocre talent is like a curse. Doko himself felt that way for half his life, being next to someone who was always better than him. Perhaps Chae Yi also thought the same. When she received the news that the company chose Han and not her, when she knew the chairman said that she could absolutely not catch up to Han, Chae Yi proposed a real sword fight with him. But Elder Doko didn't agree. He even chased Chae Yi away because someone like her was a potential threat anyway. He needed to ensure the long-term future for the company's talent. Chae Yi attacked him. Despite being knocked down multiple times, she gritted her teeth and fought until the end to win. He also demanded that if Chae Yi left the company, she should stay away from Han. But he didn't think the two of them would remain close for so long. Meanwhile, after finishing a mission on the way home, Chae Yi encountered a group of assassins. She lured them to their club. Not in a good mood, she rushed at them with deadly moves, inflicting painful deaths. She frantically stabbed them with fatal cuts as a way to release all the hatred and torment of the past years, just because she couldn't surpass her best friend. Chae Yi was pushed out the window by someone. It turned out to be the young Donggang. But she still coldly executed her close subordinate. This was actually a scheme orchestrated by the director Bencha Mincho. He was perverted, determined to satisfy his curiosity about Chae Yi's abilities. A few days later, Chae Yi returned to the company. Han angrily used his boss' authority to demand where she had been. The statement, "because I'm superior to you," angered Chae Yi. She coldly asked him to bring out his gear. Finally, after all these years, they truly had a fight with real weapons. Chae Yi didn't hesitate to launch deadly attacks right from the start. Han didn't think she would fight seriously. When Sumin ran up, Han had already fallen under Chae Yi's sword. He even pretended to scream in surprise at how skilled she had become, then suggested that she become the company's chairman. But Chae Yi clearly understood what he was doing. She left, telling the subordinates, "Whoever wants to leave, follow me." Finally, she agreed to cooperate with the director Bencha Mincho. The video showing Mantis being defeated by an unknown female assassin quickly spread in the community. Mantis' reputation was crushed. Han became depressed and lost the will to work, with only Sumin staying with him. Director Benjamin invested in Chae Yi to open her own company and become the chairman herself. He also nicknamed her Chameleon, saying that the chameleon would eat the Mantis. He asked her about the rules set by MK for this industry. Although they were gradually being forgotten, they were still valid justifications for this profession. In fact, he didn't care about those rules but about the people who set them. Chairman Cham was dead, but the elder Doko was still alive. He disliked the elder because he had once rejected him. Han company was still barely alive because the elder Doko occasionally gave them some contracts. Doko still wanted to persuade Han to return to the company, but he still refused. Finally, he ordered the termination of all contracts with Mantis. Sumin worried that her senior didn't want to return to MK because of her. Han Anan didn't say anything, but for the first time, he gave her a B-class job. Sumin was full of confidence. Little did she know, her opponent was a highly skilled martial artist. Under Han Anan's supervision, she struggled to take down the monk. After the job, he called the cleaning crew and didn't forget to give them some money for refreshments. The company was losing money, but the chairman was still so generous. On the day of the assassin convention, Han An met Chae Yi again after a long time. However, she openly confronted the elder Dokgo during his reintroduction to the industry. Chae Yi directly stated that the current rules were all decided by MK. Was it truly fair when this made small companies struggle to survive? Han An then stood up and initiated a vote to abolish the rules. But MK's power was too great. No faction agreed with the result. Chae Yi angrily said that she didn't want to abolish that rule. She raised the question of whether MK still had the credibility to carry out the punishment when the creator of the rule was also dead. Hearing that, Dokgo immediately wanted to test Chae Yi's ability on the spot. Unexpectedly, Han An jumped in to take a blow for her, making her feel even more embarrassed by her friend's help. Chae Yi didn't say another word and left. After his grand gesture, he asked Dokgo to fulfill the deal and give them more A-class jobs. The elder laughed and said to finish the remaining job first, then they would talk. In fact, Chae Yi's plan was to accept the cooperation with the director until she was strong enough to settle scores with Dokgo and confront MK. Han Anan's mission this time was to eliminate Chae Yi's former boss. Senior Boo, an unemployed assassin, but he didn't want to kill him, so he prepared a corpse to swap. Although he knew this was against the rules. This senior also had some pride. Seeing his life value ranked only D, he wanted to fight Han Anan, but was no match for him. Han Anan only told him to go somewhere no one knew who he was and live quietly. The next day, Han Anan told Elder Dokgo that Chae Yi had sent a bloody knife to him. The two would have a fight to the death. Han An begged the elder to let him persuade Chae Yi to come and kneel down to retrieve the knife, in exchange for him returning to MK. At the funeral of Senior Boo, Han Anan for the first time asked Chae Yi if she hated him so much. Did she really want him dead? Chae Yi had always been unable to stand the feeling that Han Anan was always chosen, and also couldn't stand herself for constantly being behind him. They were about to fight it out when Boo appeared, as he didn't want to lose his value like that. This angered the elder Dokgo, who questioned Han Anan. The bloody knife was passed to him. Han Anan knew this was inevitable. He met with the leader, Kim Bok-soon, to ask for advice. The leader only said that his cunning elder, Dokgo, was still very strong. Finally, Han An decided to send the bloody knife to Chae Yi. The next day, Han An left his old car for Sumin and went to the predetermined location. He went up to the second floor, and the elder Dokgo was already there. His plan was to deal with the elder before Chae Yi arrived. Even at the end of the movie, he was still being foolish for a girl. Dokgo's plan was to rush straight at Chae Yi as soon as she opened the door. He challenged Han Anan to find his weakness if he could. The two immediately clashed. Han Anan was stabbed in the leg, but he still managed to block the elder when he got close to Chae Yi just as the elevator opened. He told her that this was another battle where she was just a burden to Han Anan. Han An told her to stay calm, not to fall for the elder's trap, but Chae Yi wanted this to be a fight to the death between all three of them. She interrupted Han An and rushed into battle with the elder. She was also ready to launch fatal attacks at Han Anan if she had the chance. As for him, he only tried to protect her whenever possible. Therefore, he took quite a few blows from Dokgo. The elder was truly worthy of his title, easily knocking down both of them. Chae Yi screamed and rushed at him, but it was no use. She was even stabbed in the chest by him. Han An then threw a scythe towards him, but he still avoided it. Taking advantage of his distraction, he rushed into attack and pinned him down. At this moment, Chae Yi behind him saw an opportunity to deal with Han Anan. She picked up the sword and stabbed straight towards him, but it only pierced his coat sleeve and plunged straight into the elder's abdomen. She had seen the wound on Han Anan's leg from the beginning. She knew he had saved her. At this moment, Han An had to give his all so that the elder could also see the two words absolute that they had attributed to him. He was the Mantis in the legend, hitting every time he slashed. The final battle had come. Han An Dokgo yelled for him to give it his all. Han An had no choice but to use all his strength. He rushed in like a praying mantis, slashing multiple times, forcing the elder to kneel down before him. He demanded that the elder retire to end everything. But the elder had already endured this humiliation once in his life. He didn't want a second time. While Han Anan was still feeling guilty, Chae Yi coldly approached and plunged the broken sword deep into Dokgo's internal organs, ending his life. This was also a way to preserve his honor. Dokgo adjusted his clothes and fell, ending the F-0 era of MK. Chae Yi said that this was Han Anan's problem. Because the more he pitted others, the more pathetic he made them. Her whole life had been a pathetic shadow when he always let her win. Han An still congratulated her for achieving everything she wanted. Afterward, Bensha Mincho proceeded to acquire MK Enterprise. But it was all part of her plan. Now is the perfect time to strike. She assigned the task to a job-hungry A-class company to deal with this annoying director. Ultimately, this empire would belong to the one who dared to go all the way and was ruthless enough